Good evening, everyone, and welcome to another segment of The Journey, a meeting of the minds. I am your host, Kimberly Collins, the Educated Natural, CEO and founder of 10 Marketing LLC, located at www.10marketingllc.com. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Now, before we get to the nitty-gritty of this hangout, I have to send a very special "we miss you" to Jennifer Foxworthy, my co-host. As you know, she has about 6 more weeks, maybe 5, of face-to-face class time in her college classes. So please, those of you that pray, keep her in your prayers as she travels up and down the highway to her classes. But we miss you, Jennifer, and we will talk to you later. But don't worry, everyone. I have a very special co-host joining me tonight, none other than Miss Shonta Prince. Now, let me tell you a little bit about Miss Shonta Prince. Shonta Prince is a Navy veteran, speaker, and transition strategist. Yes, she is a visionary entrepreneur with the heart of a trainer. Shonta is the founder of Shonta International, which is a consulting agency specializing in purpose and life-focused coaching and mentorship for people in transition in the workforce, in entrepreneurship, and in ministry. Shonta is the reigning National Miss Virginia 2014 and is promoting her platform, Ending Veteran Homelessness. On top of all of that, Shonta is a college graduate. She graduated from the University of Maryland University College with a Bachelor of Science in Computer Studies and graduated with a Bachelor of Science degree in Psychology from Old Dominion University. Additionally, she graduated from Regent University with a Master of Divinity in Practical Theology. Shonta also graduated Kingdom University School of Ministry. Everyone under the sound of my voice, help me welcome the trailblazer herself, Miss Shonta Prince. Good evening, Shonta. How are you?
Hi, I'm awesome. Thank you so much. I'm feeling really good after that introduction.
Well, you deserve it. You have done so many wonderful things.
Thank you.
Thank you, first of all, for your service to our country. Thank you so much, from one veteran to another.
Yes, and thank you. And thank you for your support.
Absolutely. Now, Shonta, tonight we're talking about something that you and I both hold dear to our hearts, and that is purpose. We're talking about purpose, everyone. Now, before we go into, the meat and potatoes of this discussion, everyone, as you all know, I like to start off Hangout with giving you definitions of what purpose is and kind of feeding you into the meat and potatoes of this thing, so you will have an understanding at the end of this of how important purpose is and why you must do everything in your power to achieve it and at least get on the road to discovering what it is. Now, Shonta, I'm going to start with you before I get on my soapbox as my special guest tonight. Please, when you think of purpose, how would you define it? What do you think it is?
I think that purpose is the reason why we exist. It's the reason why we were created. Everything that we see around us was created for a reason. Somebody thought about the computer before they made it. They had a reason why it was to be made. And so when God created us, he had a reason why he created us in mind before he created us. And so purpose is the reason for our existence. Is why we're here on this earth. We're here for a purpose. We're here to do something. We're here to be something.
Absolutely. I totally agree with you. Now, everyone, I have to take this even further, and tell you what purpose is not, okay? Purpose is not your skill level. It's not your talent. It's not your career, okay? Purpose is not based on something only that you're good at. Because let's face it, I've met people all over the world that are good at singing, but that doesn't mean they're destined to be a singer.
Yes.
I've met people that are great writers. It doesn't mean they need to be the next, top author. I've met people that can sew. I've met people that can cook, but that doesn't mean that's what they're destined to do. Additionally, purpose has nothing to do with your feelings or your personal perception of that thing.
Mm.
But what purpose is and what it does have to do with is it has a deep, deep connection with your calling. It is what God created you to do, to be. Mm-hmm. It is your calling. So tonight I want everyone to understand that is what purpose is. Don't get it confused with your talents or things that you're good at. It is your God-given calling. Now, Shonta, when it comes to the journey towards your own personal purpose, what would you say were some of the largest or the biggest challenges you had to face yourself?
The first one was when I transitioned out of the Navy. Most people who know me, they know I did 10 years in the Navy, and I joined the Navy straight from high school. Mm-hmm. So I kind of grew up in the Navy. I became a woman, and my life was shaped for that organization. And so when I transitioned out of the Navy, I didn't know who I was without my uniform. Mm. So I went through a serious identity crisis where I'm trying to figure out who is Shonta?
Right.
Who is Shonta without this uniform? And so that was the first issue, was an identity crisis. I didn't know who I was. I was so used to someone telling me what to do, how to do it, and when to do it, that I didn't even know myself. So at a young age, I'm still trying to figure out, okay, who am I? And so that was the first thing, was that identity issue. And then the second thing was fear. When I did figure out, oh, this is what God created me to do, this is where I'm going, this is the destiny that God has designed for me, the fear of walking into that thing is another big challenge that I had to struggle through.
I definitely can attest to that with you, because I also, joined the Army right out of high school, and my career was cut short. But when I did step away from the service, one of the biggest challenges I had to figure out was, who am I? What do I want to do? Mm-hmm. Why am I here? I had all these questions. In the military, you live a pretty structured life. There's always somebody there telling you what to do, which way to go, and all of these things. But when you step out of such a structured environment and on your own 2 feet, it can be fearful, to be honest with you. It can be very scary. Mm-hmm. So it's like you said, I also went through the identity crisis situation of, discovering who is Kimberly Collins, what makes me happy, all these questions, things that, like you said, it doesn't really happen until you have to stand on your own 2 feet. Mommy and daddy are not there anymore to guide you. You're on your own. So I can definitely identify with that. Also, one of the major crises that I had to face was, prior to me joining the military, my mom passed away, and I was only 17. Mm-hmm. So not having her around, and, going through the 3.5 years of military service, and then, now getting married soon after and having my first child, it was so many things happening with me at that time. Mm-hmm. So not only was I dealing, with not being in the military anymore, mm-hmm. I have this new life that I'm responsible for. I have a husband that I'm responsible to. And mm-hmm. all of these things at one time. And when you're at that point in your life, unfortunately, your purpose kind of takes the back burner a little bit, because you're trying to figure it all out.
Yes.
And when you're trying to figure it all out, your purpose, sometimes it may take a lot. Some people may be like me. It probably took you years to even think about your purpose. Mm-hmm. And when you arrive at that point, like for me, believe it or not, just a year ago was when I did that I'm going on a purpose discovery journey.
Yes.
And I'll talk a little bit more about that as we get into the discussion, but Shonta, you're absolutely right. With changes in life and everything that, as you said, like as a young adult, we went through, it's just so many things, and your identity and who you are is, believe it or
Hmm.
not, one of the main things you have to figure out as you're leading up into your purpose.
Absolutely. Yeah. And I think for us it was the military.
Mm,
But for some people, it's other things that impact your identity very deeply. It could be getting a divorce. It
yes.
could be losing a loved one. It could be moving to a different state or a different country. Anything that you have wrapped that is wrapped up in your identity. It could cause you to go through an identity crisis like that, where you're struggling to figure out, okay, who am I without daddy? Who am I without mommy?
Hmm.
Who am I without my brother or my sister? So, it could be any transition, any event that sparks a transition in our lives could put us into an identity crisis. And then it can happen at different, places in life as well.
Exactly. So true. You are absolutely right, because I never thought that, when I was younger, that I would be going through, like you said, identity crisis.
Hmm.
Because if you'd asked me, prior to 18, who are you? I probably could have wrote a book of who I thought I was.
Uh-huh.
And it's totally different now. It's probably like who I was versus who I am. So it's a stage. It's a growing process, as my godmother would say. It's a process. Now, as we're talking about purpose, how would you say the best way to align with your purpose? I think that's one of the major issues a lot of people face. Once I identify what my purpose is, how do I align everything from that moment forward to make sure that it's aligned like it should be?
The first thing, like you said, is to first identify what your purpose is. And there's a few different ways that, to do that. There are several different things you can do to start to discover your purpose. I actually have a free ebook, purpose
Okay.
workbook on my website that people can download. But once you identify your purpose, that's one process. And
Yeah.
then coming into alignment with it is a completely different process. And so when I first identified my purpose, it took me a couple of years to really start walking it out, because I had gotten tangled up into so many different things that I wasn't supposed to be involved with, but it was a process to come into alignment with that. So the first part of my process was starting to trim down on and let go of some of the things that I knew that had nothing to do with my purpose. And
Mm.
so that's one thing that's really important when you start to identify that thing, is to start letting go of the things that have nothing to do with your purpose.
All
That
right.
is extremely important. It could be people, it could be things, it could be organizations that we're tied to. It's so important to start trimming the fat,
Yes.
letting some of that stuff go. And the hardest part about it is the relationship part.
Mm.
Because anytime there's a lack of understanding about purpose, then misuse and abuse is there. Because when you don't know why you're created, you don't know what your purpose is, then you allow people to misuse you and abuse you.
Exactly.
Anytime something is used other than the purpose that it's created for, that's abuse. And so
Wow.
when you start to identify that, then the abuse stops. I'm not
Exactly.
allowing you to treat me like this. I'm not allowing you to use me for this or use me for that, because that's not my purpose. That's not what I was created to do. And so that's the first thing, starting to trim the fat, letting go of those things that have nothing to do with your purpose. And that includes saying no,
Yes.
having that starting to get your power back, because when you're not in purpose, then you lose your power. But when you're in a place of purpose, that's your place of power. And so you start getting your power back by saying no. When people start to try to put things on you that have nothing to do with your purpose, that has nothing to do with what I'm called to do, you
Exactly.
have to be able to say no. And every time you say no, you start getting your power back. You start being more empowered. This is my life, this is my time, and this is my purpose. And I know that I'm not called to do that. And so I'm going to have to say no to that. And so what that really does is it gets you focused. Now you go from being scattered all over the place to having a more streamlined and a more focused life, because that's not what I'm called to do. So I'm only focusing on things that have something to do with my purpose. Anything other than that, I'm cutting it out.
Absolutely. You hit the nail right on the head, because that's exactly what I was going to say. Say no to all distractions. Last year, when I went on my purpose discovery journey, I had to say no to a lot of things. I was, entering into a new field of marketing, and it seemed like everybody was throwing their opportunities at me.
Mm-hmm.
And it became so much to where I had to literally say, no, I'm not interested. Not now, maybe not ever. That just does not align with my purpose.
Mm-hmm.
It just didn't feel right. Certain things just did not
Mm-hmm.
feel right. So I had to say no. I think a lot of people get in trouble because they don't know how to say no.
Right.
When you
Right.
learn how to say no, for me, I feel it. My instinct, like T.D. Jakes has said, my instinct has led me to some amazing things, and it has prevented me from getting caught up in some craziness.
Yes.
When I learned to say no and trust my gut instinct, life did a complete 360 for me.
Yes.
Also, for me, I had to do something, and I know some of you out there may be watching us that may not be religious, and that's okay, but this is what Kimberly Collins, the educated natural, had to do. When I was trying to identify my purpose and begin to align everything in my life with it, I had to formulate a real prayer life to build a deeper connection with my creator, which is God. And when I did that, like every day, like some people I know, including myself, do meditations. And when I started to combine my meditation time with my prayer time, and I really started to read the word to get clarity and guidance, everything began to fall into place. I felt like a puzzle piece. You ever see those 1,000-piece puzzle pieces?
Yes.
Puzzles, rather. I felt like that piece that had been lost probably under the chair. And the owner found me and scooted me right in my desired position. Because when you're out of alignment with your purpose, you're lost. You're like that lost puzzle piece.
Absolutely.
But when you discover the journey that you're supposed to be on, everything begins to line up. I'm telling you.
It's true.
It's miraculous how that happens, right?
Yes, it's so true. It's so true.
Yes, it really is. And what I had to realize is, as I started to grow, like this whole year has been just a growth journey for me. And what happened miraculously was that I started to believe that I could do the things that God was showing me that I could do. And then I had to position myself to receive the blessings from him, because I started to align everything with him. I cut off all distractions, and I started to actually listen and learn what he was trying to teach me.
Yes.
And so everything on my journey began to line up. But also, I had to be willing to do the one thing a lot of people have problems with, and that was I had to be willing to make the necessary changes in my life.
Yes.
Some people don't want to change. Some people are so set in their ways that they would miss a complete blessing because they refuse to change. They refuse to give.
Absolutely.
They refuse to do anything that God is telling them to do. I don't want to do that. I can't give that up. Like, for instance, people that are singers, your calling is to be the next top singer. But because you refuse to give up, I'm about to upset some people, and I know it. Refuse to give up cigarettes, you will not walk fully into your purpose.
That's a great example.
And I'm telling you, I see it all the time. People are refusing to make the necessary changes that it's going to take in order for them to align everything up in their life with their purpose and to walk into their purpose.
That's powerful.
Shonta.
That's powerful. That's powerful, because what it really does is it undermines or it weakens the very essence of who God created us to be. When you know that this is what I'm called to do,
yes,
and you refuse to make the necessary adjustments, it undermines your essence. It keeps you in a place of lack instead of
Yes.
allowing you to flow in your place of abundance. I believe that when you walk in purpose, your place of purpose is your place of prosperity. It puts
Oh,
you in
that's
a
good.
prosperous place because God wouldn't create you for a purpose and then you're in that purpose and you're living in lack.
Mm.
Your purpose is a place of abundance. It's a place of prosperity. And so when you refuse to make those necessary changes, it keeps you lost. It keeps you in a place of lack. It keeps you in a place of frustration and in a place of struggle. And pretty much keeps you beneath the level that God designed for you to live.
Yes, that's good. I had to write that down. That is that is good. I love that because a lot of people frown when you say the word prosperity, like, no.
Hmm.
But you're absolutely right. When you align everything in your life with your purpose, prosperity, it comes. Everything makes sense. And God didn't design any of us to live in lack.
That's so true. Absolutely.
And so why are we voluntarily choosing lack? And that's what you're doing. Like you said, when you don't do what you're supposed to do and walk in your purpose and align everything in your life with that purpose, you're choosing lack.
Hmm.
And I don't know about anybody else, but growing up in a poverty situation, growing up in the projects, growing up on food stamps, as an adult, I didn't want to go through that anymore.
Right.
And the more, like I told you guys earlier, the more I started to build that deeper connection with
Hmm.
God and started to read the word and started to pray, he showed me that I may have started there, but that is not where I'm supposed to finish. There are bigger
Absolutely.
and greater things for me.
Yes.
And it's very important for everybody out there to realize that there is so many wonderful opportunities out here for you to go and walk in a purpose of prosperity, a purpose of just greatness, because God lives in you, so greatness will come. You just have
That's
to make sure
right.
you position yourself for that.
That's right.
And Shonta, you and I were talking, and I was explaining to you that throughout my life there were hurdles upon hurdles upon hurdles that I had to cross.
Hmm.
But I had to be willing to go through that in order for me to get where God needed to be. I
That's the key.
fought God, like I've shared with you all before. I fought God with this very show, with the
Hmm.
very thing that he is using to bring me higher and take me further. I fought it
Hmm.
because of fear. Because I was afraid of the unknown. It completely took me out of my comfort zone. I didn't want to change. I didn't want
Hmm.
to stop doing I didn't want to leave the 9 to 5. To me, corporate America, I was working for the government. Some people would probably give their right arm to work in the federal system. I love that.
Yes.
And I was like, wait a minute, Lord. What you mean you've been closing the door and I can't get back in? Come on, I gotta be honest. Y'all know I'm transparent. I gotta be honest. I mean, I was looking at God like, do you not know who I am? That's all I had at the moment. And I was like, I can't believe that he's gonna close this door for me. What am I
Yes.
supposed to do now? And it all boiled down to the fact that I'm no different than anybody else. I did not want to change. I didn't want it. I was loving what was going on at the time.
Hmm.
And a lot of you are just like me. You're caught up in loving what you're doing at the time. And when God comes in and he completely shakes your world up and changes everything you're used to, it's a tough pill to swallow for some people, but I had to be willing to make the change to get to greater. So, Shonta, I know you can relate to that.
Absolutely. As a matter of fact, I had a federal job too that I left to pursue my purpose. And sometimes people think that you're crazy or that you've lost your mind. Like
Yes.
it's just like you said, so many people would love to be in a comfortable federal job that pays well and has excellent benefits.
Yes.
But you have to be willing to get away from that. I always say that the comfort zone is the danger zone.
Mm-hmm.
And if you're comfortable to the point where you can't make those changes or you can't step out, that's dangerous.
Yes.
Because anything that doesn't grow is dead.
Oh, you better say
So
that.
if you're not growing, if you're not moving, if you're not progressing, you're really like the walking dead.
Yes.
And so you really have to come out of the comfort zone. You have to be willing. You have to be willing and say, God, okay, I'm stepping out of the boat. Like people talk about Peter because, he started to sink, but, at least Peter had the courage to step out of the boat. And so some of
Exactly.
us have to be willing to step out of that boat, to step out of that place of comfort and leave the comfort zone behind and embrace the greatness that God has for us. And I think that's the primary thing that we're talking about, pursuing purpose in the face of fear. We have to be willing to endure that fear and be willing to deal with that in order to get out of that comfort zone.
Exactly. You're absolutely right. You have to be able to face fear. We've talked about that in the previous hangouts, how important it is. You have to face that thing. I spent years probably running around fear, like a boxer in a boxing ring, and just running around it, trying to, go under it, go over it. But I had to come face to face with the thing that scared me the most. And believe it or not, everyone, it's doing this. It's talking to you live on camera, sitting in front of the camera and talking and saying what's on my mind and what's on my heart and what God gives me to say. That scared the bejesus out of me. Because, you start thinking of, your negative thoughts start. What if they don't like what I have to say? What if this and what if that? And it boiled down to something that I heard a minister say to me once. He said, what if God is unhappy? Then what? He said, you may be happy staying behind the scenes. You may be happy working in that federal position. But what if God's not happy? Because he has already mapped out your life to go a certain way. He has already tapped you on your shoulder and told you where you need to be. But instead of following him, you're following you. And I had to sit there and I had to really think about that, because let's face it, in the end, when my body, when my spirit leaves this world, somebody got to put me somewhere. That's God. And if I don't do what he tells me to do, I'm actually volunteering myself to damnation. And I don't want to live there. So I had to stop and turn around and listen to it and do what he told me to do. And it got to a point where I started making up my own acronyms for fear. And I started saying, you know what, when it comes to fear, I'm going to say I'm feeling excited and relieved, because now I'm actually ready to walk into my purpose.
That's awesome.
And not only that, I'm ready to face every adversary ready. I am facing every adversary ready.
I love that.
Whatever comes my way, I'm ready for it. Because I told you all in a previous hangout that God lives in us. One of my favorite motivational speakers, Les Brown, always says, greatness is within you.
Yes.
And so I switched that up just personally for me. And I said, Kim, God is within you. And because he is within me, I don't have to worry about what thought darts or what the enemy tries to do to me, because God is within me. And a lot of people say, well, I put God in the front. Some people say, God is here, God is there. But for me, he's within me. And when bad things happen and bad things come up my way, because I'm telling you, on this road to your journey, you're going to face some stumbling blocks. You're going to face some hills to climb. You're going to get some bumps and scrapes along the way. But if you have God at the center, he deflects all of those negative things, and you actually are able to go through and discover your purpose, because you're doing exactly what he told you to do and not what you told you to do.
That's incredible. And
I love that about walking along my journey, the things that I've learned just in a year. People say a year makes a difference. Absolutely.
Yes. And I love that, the stuff that we go through, as a coach, I hear a lot of excuses, and I hear people looking for pity, and they want you to feel sorry for them. And I say, don't look for pity for your situation. Look for a solution for your situation. Yes. And so I hear a lot of people saying, oh, I went through this, I went through that. The beautiful thing about purpose is that no matter what you go through, no matter the experience that you have, it doesn't matter where you started, your purpose is still your purpose.
Exactly.
Nothing that you can ever go through is going to cancel out your
Mm-mm.
purpose. It's never going to cancel out the reason why God created you, because God is a God of restoration and redemption. So even if you've been through hell,
Exactly.
God will still look at you and say, I can still use you for the
Exactly.
purpose that I created you for. And a lot of times, these things that we deal with, these things that we go through, are actually, what we don't realize is preparation for walking and releasing in purpose. Because
Yes.
walking in purpose is one thing, but when you begin to release it,
Mm.
you begin to transform the lives of other people. And so, in order to get to that place of releasing, you have to go through some stuff. It's just like, if Ford creates a Mustang, that Mustang has to be tried and tested before they release it.
There you go.
Before they put that car on the car lot, it has to be tested. They want to make sure it can sustain heavy weather. They want to make sure it can hold heavy weight, and so on and so forth. And so, on the journey to purpose, it's the same way. This life journey is about us being tried and being tested and being prepared to be released. And so, nothing that we can ever experience is going to cancel that purpose. It's never too late. All the way up until the day that we die, we can still walk in our purpose.
Wow. That's all I can say to that. You are absolutely right. No matter what we have gone through, God can still use us.
Yes.
And I've met people all over the world at the various, stages of my life. And they'll sit there and say, well, you don't understand. I did this when I was this age, or I did that, or I'm still doing this. And I'm like, it doesn't matter. When he saves you, when he forgives you, no condemnation. It's over. You get a
Right.
clean slate. As long as you
Clean
repent
slate.
and say, God, I'm sorry, forgive me, it's done. You have to, first of all, forgive yourself.
Absolutely.
And a lot
Yes.
of people have trouble doing that. They're still trying to hold on to that. Stop
Mhm.
fighting for your limitations. It's over. Forgive yourself and move forward
That's
and
right.
begin, like you said, identify, walk in, and then, get ready to transform into your purpose. Get ready to release that thing upon the world. That
Mhm.
is the stage, that I am at right now, Shonta. I didn't even know how many people that this broadcast impacts. I had
Mhm.
no idea. When God gives you a vision, he
Mhm.
won't give you the full picture right off.
Right.
He gives you like bits and pieces.
Because if he
And
gave you the full picture, you would run.
yes, exactly. Exactly. And for me, when he gave me the vision for this show, I was like I told you, I was very fearful.
Mhm.
And then once I started doing it and we got better and better at it, and then he showed me another piece of the vision. And then
Mhm.
I was like, who, me? Wait a minute. This is just a little Google Hangout. And I had to say, you know what? God is leading me.
Mhm.
He has something bigger for this. He only gave
Yes.
me the snapshot of the vision
Yes.
in the beginning. Now he's giving me the second part. And I'm
Yes.
like, I feel like this is a sequel. And now I'm like on the edge of my seat, like, oh,
Yes.
what's next? Because
It's true.
it's true. You go through that. When you're on this journey to your purpose, it is like, what's next? You're almost like at the edge of your seat.
Yes. It's exciting and scary at the same time. One thing
Yes.
that's so fabulous is that everything that God does, he does it in seed form. So it
Yeah,
starts off as a seed,
absolutely.
and it's small. So don't despise humble beginnings. Don't be afraid to start small. If
Right.
you bake cookies, don't be afraid to bake a 6 pack of cookies at a time,
There you go.
because you start small and God begins to grow that thing. That's the fabulous thing about when you align with your God given purpose. When you take one step, God is taking 3 steps. And things begin to unfold and things become more clear as you go along. Even if you don't have complete clarity right now, just get started. And as you start taking steps forward, then the clarity begins to come as you start walking. And so that starting out with that seed, don't ever be afraid or ever be ashamed of starting small, because I'm telling you, and just like Kim has already said, and even from my own personal experience, I've started many things very small. But
Yes.
every time I keep pressing and I keep going in the direction that I know that I'm supposed to be going, God continues to grow that thing, and He's bringing the abundance. He's bringing the harvest of abundance, because I trusted God to say, okay, this is my purpose, and this is what you have designed for me. And things are just coming and coming. I didn't have everything I needed when I started.
Exactly.
I just got started with what I had.
Yes.
And then things started to grow. So that's really important. Another thing about that seed is everything that is in a seed, everything that's in a tree or everything that's in a fruit is in that seed.
Mm-hmm.
The biggest tree that you can find started off as a tiny, tiny seed. And everything that tree is ever going to be is already in the seed.
Yes.
So everything that we need to be successful in this life, God already put it on the inside of us. So when we start facing those trials and when we start facing those difficult situations, we have to understand that if I'm facing this, I'm equipped to deal with this. I'm equipped to overcome this, because if I wasn't, I wouldn't be facing it. And so taking those situations and saying, you know what, I'm going to be a victor and not a victim. I'm going to overcome this thing because there's purpose in me. And that seed has to go through heavy weather sometimes. It has to deal with heavy rain and bad storms and people coming by and stepping on it while it's trying to grow. And all of those different, those opposing situations, that opposition only makes that thing stronger. And so it's the same thing with us in purpose. Everything that comes up against us only makes us stronger. I'm telling you, if your enemies knew how strong they are making you, they would just leave you alone.
Exactly.
They would leave you alone because they don't even realize that God's using them to build you and make you stronger. And that's what having purpose is all about. It's about being built for the mission, being built for the journey, and being prepared to deal with whatever comes our way, knowing that we're equipped to deal with it.
Absolutely. Absolutely, Shonta. You are, whoo, that was powerful in itself. I can stop the hangout right there. That was powerful in itself. You know, when I think about purpose, and I think about everything that I've had to endure over the last year alone, not to mention the years before, but just in the last year alone, I've learned so much. I've learned that I'm stronger than I thought I was. I've learned that I know more than I thought I did. I've learned that I have something to say, and it matters.
Yes.
A lot of people feel like they don't matter. Well, you do matter, first of all. But
Absolutely.
You have to understand that even before your mother and father got together and created you, God had already laid out your purpose. He'd already laid out everything that He designed you for. Each one of us on this earth has a designed purpose.
Yes.
Can't nobody else do it but you.
Exactly.
People can come and copy you. People can come and try to beat you down like that tree and that seed, like Shonta was talking about. But when it's your purpose, it's yours. Somebody can come, like I can't tell you how many motivational speakers there are, how many life coaches there are, how many business coaches there are, how many marketers there are. But I can tell you from personal experience and from, you know, the lessons that I've learned along my journey to my own purpose, can't nobody do it like me.
That's right.
Can't nobody do my purpose like me. I don't care who tries to coin the name. I don't care who tries to put themselves in the same category as me or as you.
That's right.
There's only one me. You know, and it's like you can share a stage with 10 other people. But when you cross that stage, there is somebody sitting there waiting to hear you. You could be the exact one that connects to that one person that nobody else on that stage connected with.
Right.
You are the one, Neo. It's you. And you have to understand that no matter what comes your way, no matter how many haters that you have, no matter how many naysayers you have a purpose that is designed by God, set only for you. Only you can do it. So I don't care if you wait till you're 50, 60, 70 years old. When you start walking in your purpose and doing the things that God designed you to do, it is your moment. It is your time. and it will resonate with so many other people. But I encourage you right now, start today. Start right now. After this hangout is over, start writing stuff down about try to discover your purpose. Your time is now. And, life expectancies are getting shorter and shorter. Don't waste time. Like Shonta said, when she started, she didn't have everything in place. Neither did I. But I started. And that's the important thing. You have to start now. Stop delaying. Stop making those excuses. Yes. And get started now.
That's it. That's it. And that's so important that we're talking about getting started, because one of the things that keeps us from getting started is being afraid to get started. And so what I've learned is that, and I just told somebody this today, that fear is a liar.
Yes.
And fear is the biggest dream killer that I know. And so the key to walking in purpose, and this is what God showed me. We talked about how when we had that identity crisis when we got out of the Navy, I was so used to people telling me what to do, when to do it, and how to do it.
Exactly.
That I would wake up and say, I don't know what to do today. Like, I don't know what to do with myself. I'm used to having my day already planned out. And the Lord said, do what makes you afraid. And I said, I don't understand that. The thing that made you afraid, Kim, this TV show?
Yes.
Do what makes you afraid. I had to learn how to reverse that fear, because what fear really is really a sign that you're stepping out of your comfort zone.
Exactly.
That's all fear really is. It's your brain saying, oh my goodness, we're used to it being this way, but now it's changing and we're leaving that place that we feel so safe and we feel so comfortable. Fear is a sign that you're stepping out of the comfort zone. Exactly. And so when you do what makes you afraid, let that instinct guide you into your purpose. Whatever scares you to pieces, that's what you need to be doing. And for Kim, it was the TV show. For you, it may be something else. For me, it may be something else. And so for me, it was launching my website and starting my coaching programs and contacting radio shows and TV shows. And there's a whole list of things that really made me afraid. Yes. But I had to learn how to use that fear and say, you know what? If it scares me, that's what I'm supposed to be doing. It terrifies me. It makes my knees knock. And so my motto is, do it afraid. Yes. If you're scared, do it anyway. Yes. Don't allow the fear to keep you from walking in your purpose, but have the courage to do it even in the midst of your fears, and let that fear be a guide for you. Let it be an instinct and say, okay, when you get to the point where it's time for you to go to your next level, and it scares you, then you know that's where you need. It's like a soft spot. Okay, this thing terrifies me to pieces, but that's your soft spot, and you know, okay, this is where I'm supposed to be going, because now I have the indication that I'm stepping out of my comfort zone again. And I always say, if you are a purpose pursuer, you're gonna have to get comfortable with being uncomfortable.
There you go. Exactly.
That's just the bottom line. You're gonna always have to, like I said, the comfort zone is the danger zone. So you're gonna have to get used to living on edge, living with that excitement, and trusting God to carry you through. And it doesn't matter if you say, well, I don't know God, I'm not this and I'm not that. God still created you with a purpose, whether you're connected to Him or not. Yes. You still have a purpose that He designed you for. And so it's really important to connect with Him, and so that He can help you to see what that is, so that He can help you to see what areas in your life are you living too low. What areas in your life is He calling you up and saying, you know what, that's beneath what I designed for you. Mm-hmm. That you being abused because that's not what I created you to do. Or this person is misusing you because that's not the purpose that I created you for. Right. And so it's so refreshing when we start to understand that God created us for a reason. Every single person on this earth was created for a purpose. And the reason why there's so much trouble going on in the world is because so many people are walking around and they have no idea why they were created. They have no idea what their purpose is. Right. And that's what causes chaos. Where there's a lack of purpose, there's an abundance of chaos. Yes. And so coming into that thing and then helping others to discover it as well, is life-changing. It's transformational. It changes your life, and it changes the life of others. And also, it glorifies your Creator. It glorifies God.
Yes, absolutely. Powerful, Shonta, powerful. Because what I want people also to understand that as you're going on this journey to your purpose, sometimes, believe it or not, God will put purpose set stumbling blocks in your way.
Mm-hmm.
And what I call these are attention getters. Because
Yeah.
sometimes during this journey, it can seem long and it can be hard and it could be lonely. And you'll start to think back going, you know what? When I was doing other stuff, it was so much easier than this. And you'll start to want to
Yes.
turn around instead of moving forward.
Mm-hmm.
And so God will start putting certain things in your way. And he does that so that you will start that. So you will do like I did. I told you guys about this in a previous hangout. He will start to cause you to fall down on that one knee.
Yes.
And when you fall down on that one knee, that's when you're at your lowest point. And you're actually in the prayer position. And when you're in that position, you have nowhere else to go or nothing else to do but to look up. And
That's
it's
so
at
true.
that moment, because I know somebody is there. It's at that moment when he says, now I can use you.
Mm-hmm.
Now you're ready. Because that's when you're leaning and completely depending on him because you're down on that knee.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes a lot of us, including myself, need those stumbling blocks every now and then.
Yes.
You
It's
need
true.
that hater because some of y'all get comfortable. You need that hater to say, ha, you
Yes.
can't do it, or I knew you wasn't about this, or whatever
Exactly.
they're going to say. You need that because I don't know about you, but that becomes like fuel to my fire.
Me too. Yes.
Yes, and I'm like, oh, really?
Oh, I can't do this? Okay.
Watch me work. And I go
Yes.
forward, and I'm
Yes.
like, thank you, God, I needed that.
Exactly.
I needed that Powerade. Thank you.
Yes. Absolutely. Them haters, they'll push you, and it awakens something in you because naturally God created us naturally to be successful. When we talk about that seed, once you put that seed in the ground, you don't have to pray because that seed is going to grow anyway. So the more things that come up against it, the stronger it gets. And so when those haters are coming up against us, it makes us stronger when we use that energy the right way. We're
Yeah.
not built to break down. We're built to break through.
Yes.
And so when you're pursuing purpose, you don't break down at the first sign of a hater, at the first sign of opposition.
Oh,
You break through. You have to have that mindset of, this opposition is coming up against me, but I'm an overcomer and I'm gonna break through.
yes.
Don't break down. You break through, and that's how you really start walking in the fullness of purpose. Is when you have that breakthrough mentality of this thing is not about to take me out.
Exactly.
I'm about to overcome this. I'm going to break through this.
Love that. Absolutely. I had a pastor preach one time, and he said, you know what? It's okay to bend. And it's like you said about that young tree that sprouted from that seed.
Mm-hmm.
When it's facing those storms, it's going to bend. It's going to sway. It's going to go left. It's going to go right. It's going to
Right.
go forward. It's going to go backwards. But it's not going to break
Absolutely.
because it landed in good soil, and it came from a strong seed.
That's right.
And that's what you, as individuals out there that's watching us tonight, you have to realize that. You came from a strong seed.
Exactly.
And you're being nourished by a strong provider.
Yes.
And I love that because when I was that young weakling a year ago, not knowing which way to go, used to be in a structured environment,
Right.
used to living inside my comfort zone with my heels kicked up.
Right. Yes.
And when the rug was pulled from under me, I became like a infant just learning how to walk again.
Right.
And
It's
when
so true.
Yes, and when I went through that, and now that my legs are stable, it's like a baby, and I'm walking now. I'm
Right.
good now. I'm on solid food now.
Yeah.
Now that I'm there, I'm like, wow, why did I wait so long for for me to walk into this? You mean to
Right.
tell me
Yeah.
I could have did this 10 years ago. But I wasn't ready then like I am now.
Right.
And I had to really realize that, everything I've gone through, just like everything you've gone through, it was for a set purpose. It was for a moment. And into everything, there is a season. And now I always tell myself every day I do those morning affirmations, I'm like, I am who God says that I am.
Yes.
I am built for this. I am made for this. I am living my life on purpose. And, Shonta, you mentioned, before about, doing what makes you afraid.
Mm-hmm.
And it is so powerful that you said that, because so many people that I met, along my journey are so afraid to do the next step in their journey. They know what it is. God has already shown it to them. They know what it is, but they're so afraid to do it.
Mm-hmm.
But I have a question for you all. Did you know that there is a connection between fear and success? Because the very thing that I was afraid of is what God is using to make me successful.
Mm-hmm.
And the same thing can happen to you. You have to learn to do it afraid. You have to learn to take that chance. You have to learn what, Steve Harvey was talking about. You have to learn to jump.
Yes.
Keep the parachute. You got to be ready to jump. Because if you don't jump, you're going to live in fear. Fear is going to win, and you're never going to discover and walk and, and transition into your purpose. So you have to be willing to take that chance. Make the changes that need to be made and do whatever you have to do. So when your time is up on this earth, you're empty. Your legacy is here, and you have completely fulfilled everything that God designed you for in the very beginning. You've done that. And on the other side, you are actually now ready to hear him say, good, my fellow servant. You are ready to hear that. You were faithful to the end. You fought against the haters. You didn't give up. You stayed the course. You took a chance. And that's all purpose is. That's what I've learned through this journey of, this show and growing, educationally, in an institution such as college, as well as, just my own self-education. I learned the value of walking and discovering and transition into your purpose. There's so much more out there for every one of you. But it starts with you making the decision that you're going to do whatever it takes to get to your next level.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And that's what it's really all about. It's about making the decision. Yes. Because when you really make a decision, an authentic decision is always followed by action.
Yes.
So if you say, well, I made up my mind to do A, B, and C, but you haven't done it or you haven't started, then you really haven't decided. But when you really decide, the action follows that. And Kim, you and I were talking earlier about how some people, they think they're ready, but they're not.
Right.
And so for me, I feel like, listen, if you ain't ready, then you need to just go ahead and take a seat. Because there's a core of people that God is raising up.
Yes.
Who we are ready. We're tired of living beneath our means. We're tired of living in lack. We're tired of struggling. We're tired of being lost.
Yes.
And God is raising up a core of people who are saying, I'm making a decision to walk according to how God has designed. I'm making a decision to get out of the chicken coop, hanging around with these chickens.
Yes.
And I'm making a decision to start soaring like an eagle.
There you go.
And so making that decision is so empowering. It revolutionizes your life.
Yes.
When you make that decision and you say, I've made up my mind. I'm walking in my purpose, and I'm going to pursue my destiny, and I'm going to live according to how God has designed me to live. It revolutionizes your life. And not only that, every life that you encounter, it brings transformation to other people. A transformed person carries transformation to other people. Exactly. So your purpose, and that's what's important to know, your purpose is not just about you. Your purpose is connected to so many other people. Kim and I are connected. We've crossed paths for a reason. My purpose is there's something in me that she needs. There's something in her that I need. There's something in all of you who are listening that we all need.
Exactly.
Our purpose is, we've all crossed paths at this moment and at this time for a reason. Exactly. You're unlocking something in us. We're unlocking something in you. And all of us are going to leave tonight with something, with a seed that has been sown, and now it's time to make that thing grow. It's time to water that thing. It's time to make the decision. It's time to go hard or go home.
There you go. There you go. You said
New
it.
season.
Yes, it's a new season, it's a new day, and it's your time to get off the pot.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And, you know, Shonta, I want to thank you so much for joining me tonight. This has been totally mind-blowing for me. So I know it's been mind-blowing for everyone else. But there's something, everyone, I want to read that I found online, and it's by Bishop T.D. Jakes. A few months ago, he was on Oprah's show, and he was talking about purpose. And he says that being good at something doesn't mean it's your calling. He says, pulling from a sermon that he preached entitled Living on Purpose, he says, if you're stuck on how to tell the difference between talent and purpose, he advises you to look honestly at your best skill. He says that, however, if you're in a situation where your talents aren't being used to the maximum, it could be beneficial in the long run. You see, you may start out doing something that was not the thing that you were created to do. It may only be the thing that leads to the thing you were created to do. So don't stop at where you are as if it were the destination, when in fact, in reality, it may be the transportation that brings you into the thing you were created to do. And I read that to you guys to let you in on something. When this journey, a meeting of the mind, started, it initially started as a Google Hangout. We've been doing this since January of 2014, this year. It has now transitioned not only as a Google Hangout, but it's also featured on a radio station. And in 2015, it's going to transition again into a television show.
Yeah.
So, do you see how what started in one place has now transitioned to something else? So it's like Shonta said, your purpose isn't just for you. It's for other people. This show is impacting so many people. I can't tell you how many inbox messages I received saying thank you for talking about that particular topic. I needed to hear that. I needed to come out of my comfort zone. I needed to get that off of my chest. Thank you for understanding me. And these are people that I've never met. I don't even know, who are watching us. And when I get these messages, I'm like, Lord, that's just another confirmation that I'm doing exactly what you purposed me to do. So, Shonta, I'm telling you, thank you for connecting with me. Thank you for being a part of my journey and my transitional moment. I can't tell you how much this means to me. So, and before we close out, do you have any closing words for our audience tonight?
I'm just so grateful for the opportunity to be able to share, because what we're doing tonight is my purpose. I'm called to teach and to be a transformational leader, and so I can't teach if no one is listening. Exactly. So I really thank everybody for just taking the time to listen. And Kim, I thank you for just inviting me to just share with you and just to bring our minds together and to be able to impact others and to help others to see their worth and to see their value. I'm so humbled and I'm so thankful. I'm going to be full for the rest of the night and probably all day tomorrow.
Yes.
Just because when you walk in purpose, it's so empowering and it makes you so full and it makes you overflow. And so everybody, thank you so much for listening. You can look me up on Facebook or connect with me on my website, bootstobrilliance.com, as in military boots, bootstobrilliance.com. Or connect with me on any other social media sites. And I just thank you all, and I appreciate each and every one of you.
Thank you so much, Shonta, for joining me tonight. Thank you, everyone, for tuning in and watching us and supporting the Hangout. Continue to support us. Make sure you go to Shonta's website at www.bootstobrilliance.com. Make sure you also head over to my website, which is www.bootstobrilliance.com. www.10marketingllc.com. Also, connect with us at the links that you'll see on our YouTube page under this video, which one of them is my Facebook page, which is www.facebook.com/Kimberly Collins, the Educated Natural. Make sure you connect with me there. And I will see you guys next week, as always, when I bring you another hot topic and another special guest. Thanks, everyone. And until the next video, I hope you enjoy your journey. And make sure you tune in to WBND Radio as well every day for your inspirational moment. Thank you, guys. Good night.
Thank you. Good night.